Overreacting. It's probably one of the biggest things an NBA fan can do. And it's also actually the one thing I feel like NBA fans do literally during the first week of the season. Today, we're kind of going to be overreacting to a few things, but honestly, the way that I'm looking at it right now, these are going to be my takeaways from the first week of the 2025-2026 NBA season. But before we even get started, I do want to get a few house cleaning things out of the way. These thoughts are from games that took place from Tuesday to Saturday. Every team will be discussed today, but that doesn't mean that every team is going to have a lot of discussion. The games from October 21st to October 26th will be covered, just so you guys know. Games from October 27th will be covered at a later time. Next week, I'm not sure, maybe Thursday, we're gonna see. Also, please go ahead and please like the video and subscribe to the channel, help it grow. And also comment down below your thoughts on the season so far. Smiley face. I didn't have to include that, but I just really felt like I wanted to. The first team on the list is the OKC Thunder. Shai is in MVP form again, even without having a 3-ball fall. Chet has been stepping up to the same position that J-Dub was in last year when Chet and Ihart were out. The double OT games, I think, are actually going to be killing this team, or at least like having 2 double OT games literally to start the season does sound really taxing on the team. AJ Mitchell looks really good. I think he's actually one of the steals, but then again, I feel like Sam Presti always finds these random steals. The bench depth has looked good as well, from guys like Cason Wallace, AJ Mitchell, Aaron Wiggins, like you name it. Like it just feels like the Thunder have a good amount of guys that can always come in and kind of play a role that they're needed for. Also, can I just say that Brooks Barnhauser taking minutes from Ousmane Dieng is very, very surprising. Shout out him though, I guess. The Houston Rockets. Sengun's 40 ball in the first game was amazing. He does have to stop complaining to the refs every time he thinks there's a foul. It's really Jokic-like. Reed Shepard has a long way to go. He wasn't afraid to shoot the ball, but also at the same time, it kind of felt like when he was out there, he was a deer in headlights. I think KD should have taken way more shots in game 1, especially in the fourth quarter and in the double overtime. I want to say that he shot maybe less than 5 attempts in the fourth quarter and in the double overtime against the Thunder. Amen Thompson is not a point guard. I'm sorry. I know that he's basically having to play the one because of the lack of Fred VanVleet and the fact that Reed Shepard cannot step up yet, but Amen is just not the ideal one to have in the Rockets offense. Also, someone find Tari Eason. I have no idea where he went. He looked amazing last year, and for some reason this year, it's kind of like he just randomly like fell off a cliff and now he's missing. The Los Angeles Lakers. After watching game 1, Luka was my MVP pick this year, and he's still going to be my MVP pick, and that was only after the one game that he played. We need to pay Austin Reeves, just straight up. He had a 51-point game. He only had 2 turnovers in that game as well. Marcus Smart has been a dog on the defensive end, which was something that I feel like the Lakers haven't seen in a very long time from one of their players. I also do feel like this team does need Luka on the floor, or at least LeBron to return, because while Austin Reeves did have that 51-point game, I don't think they can rely on that every game. The team in game 1 looked generally lost when Luka was not on the floor. I'm also not sold on DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, he had 2 good games after having 1 stinker game, but I don't see the type of motor that he has as a benefit. From Phoenix to Portland, I kind of always felt like he wasn't the type of guy that had a very good motor, and I still don't really feel that. He also still needs to really roll to the basket, and he did do that more in games 2 and 3, but I'm not relying on that sample size to be like, oh my god, he's gonna be a completely different player than he was the last like 5 years of his career. I just don't see it that way. Sorry, I'm kind of a downer on DeAndre Ayton. Also, Rui has to play the way that he did against the Wolves if they want to stay competitive, especially with no LeBron and a lack of Luka. The Golden State Warriors. They've always been a fun team to watch. Jonathan Kuminga looks like he's completely transformed this game this year. He actually looks like he's buying into the Steve Kerr system, and we saw that especially in game 1, where it kind of felt like Draymond was trying to get him the ball, but Jonathan Kuminga was the guy that's like, no, give it to Steph, which thank God, because that was the one thing that was really holding him back. He could also be doing this because he wants his paycheck, which I'm not even going to blame him for. Jimmy looked good in game 1, but I also do feel like I kind of need Jimmy to stay that way throughout the regular season. He's going to be the guy that's leading the team in free throws because he's going to be driving to the rim a lot, but sometimes it kind of feels like in game 2 and game 3 he wasn't really trying to drive as much as he should have. And we all know that Steph Curry can still light up a team. At this point, he's had like what, 30 point, 40 point. I'm waiting for a 50-point game at this point, and it's only 3 games into the season. Al Horford, for his age, is still a really impactful player. You might look at the box score and be like, he's not really doing anything, but Al Horford's the type of player that I don't feel like has to stuff the stat sheet to be very effective on the court. The Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon turned into Carmelo Anthony literally in the first game of the season. I don't know what he did, but he became a great 3-point shooter. He became a great free throw shooter. He was just doing everything in game 1. Should have taken the ball, AG. Should have taken the ball, man. Like, honestly, he deserved it, even if they did lose. Cam Johnson needs to knock down his shots. I don't think that this is going to be too big of an issue because we've seen what he has been the last few years, or at least ever since his Phoenix Suns days. The Nuggets definitely need another point guard because when Jamal Murray goes to the bench, there isn't that like ball handler that's not Jokic on the court as well. Aaron Gordon can handle the ball, but they still kind of need a secondary secondary ball handler that's comfortable with bringing it up all the time. And Jokic is just doing his thing. I don't really know what else to say. We know what he does. The Cleveland Cavaliers. This is kind of a really odd photo, especially with OG Anunoby standing right behind Donovan Mitchell. For those of you that didn't have that image in your head, I'm really sorry about that. It's funny because Lonzo Ball has not shown a lick of offense, even without him being able to shoot the ball consistently. I think Evan Mobley has to be a lot more aggressive this year. It kind of feels like when he has a mismatch with a smaller player, he just ends up passing the ball back out. Like, dude, you have Cam Thomas on you. The dude is like 6'4". He's not going to hurt you in any way. You should be able to just body him down easily. The lack of Darius Garland does show a lot as well, because with Donovan Mitchell being the only guard that kind of will run to the rim, they don't really have a secondary guard that's able to get to the rim at will, especially when Lonzo is not going to be hitting his shots and has always kind of been a weak finisher. Bam's offense has implemented more threes, or at least more threes than he was shooting last year. He does start out more aggressive, but then he starts off more aggressive with the way that he's been shooting. It kind of feels like at the beginning of... It feels like at the beginning of every game, Bam does... It feels like at the beginning of every game... It feels like at the beginning of every game, Bam is very aggressive, but he starts to slow it down quarter by quarter, which has always been his issue. Because he's such a skilled and talented player, you would feel like his offensive game would take a leap. And while it does, the team defense is really solid. Norman Powell has been showing off his offense, giving the team a really big boost. Simone Fontecchio looks really good. And also, just to go back to that sort of offensive point, they are one of the fastest paced teams in the league, so they are putting up a lot of points and they are running really fast, which is something I would never say about a Miami Heat team, because it felt like they were a defense first, offense second type of team. But I think adding the offensive firepower of Norman Powell has really given this team a really big offensive boost. The New York Knicks. Thank God that Tom Thibodeau is not the coach anymore. Because when Tom Thibodeau was the coach, basically the starters played like 3,000 minutes and the bench unit would not play any minutes at all. They were last in bench scoring last year, but have raised the bar a little bit more with Mike Brown as the coach. We've been seeing more players bringing up the ball that's not just Jalen Brunson, and we are starting to see a double big lineup, sometimes with Cat and Ariel Hukporti. Although that's only been implemented for a few games, like I want to say 2 games, and then they decided to run Cat at the 5. I think that the double big lineup would actually really benefit, because I think Cat did really well as a 4 in Minnesota. And as a 5, it kind of feels like you have to hide him on the defensive end. But it's really hard to hide a 5 on the defensive end when he's 7 feet tall. And he's going to be guarding people that are under the basket. So I think Cat is perfect kind of as a 4-man, or at least with Hukporti as the center. The Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young looks bad. He plays without the ball, but just because you don't have the ball in your hands, it doesn't mean that you just have the excuse to stand there. He's not really active at all. Like, he's literally putting the Steph Curry comparison to bed, because at least with Steph is one of those players on and off the ball is really dangerous. And I thought that Trae Young was going to develop into the type of player that would be that way too, but seeing him play off the ball, it's just really hard to watch. Luke Kennard is also playing defense, but he's not shooting offensively, or he's basically settling for a lot of mid-range shots, which is really confusing to me. The defense is horrible. Just straight up, like, it's just not really good. Dyson Daniels is also not a threat on the offensive side of the ball, and I mentioned it in my top 10 shooting guard list. If he developed an offensive game, he would definitely become a top 10 shooting guard, but if he's basically a non-threat from 3 and teams are just leaving him wide open and he's not hitting the shot or even taking the shot, yeah, I'm sorry, he's not going to be a top 10 shooting guard in my eyes for a bit. I still think, like I said in my top 10 power forwards video, Jalen Johnson is still a beast, but you can tell that he's developing on both sides of the court, because him and Dyson Daniels are the 2 guys that aren't being guarded when it comes to the 3 ball. But Jalen Johnson has also been hurt throughout his career, so I'm really expecting that development to come this year and that he becomes like most improved or an all-star this year. The Orlando Magic. Desmond Bane was literally doing everything in his first game as a Magic player, and you can kind of feel his impact because the movement on the court with Bane there is very different from last year or even the previous years. I love the backcourt of Jalen Suggs and Desmond Bane, although Jalen Suggs didn't play in the last game because of some knee soreness, but he does look like he's going to be cleared to play sometime this week or this Monday as of me recording this video. Tristan Da Silva has been great off the bench, and honestly, kind of the way that I'm looking at him, he's kind of the only offensive power they have off of the bench. I think he's a perfect fit in Orlando as well. Paulo also took one of the most questionable shots against the Hawks, and I also do kind of feel like Paulo is the type of guy that should use his build to kind of score at the basket. Overall, it is kind of weird because I do feel like the Orlando Magic are a team that got better, but also at the same time didn't get better and maybe got a little bit worse. It's kind of like a double-edged sword in my opinion, but I still really do like this team. The San Antonio Spurs. Wemby is the best player in the league, just hands down. And playing alongside Dylan Harper has really shown that Wemby can get the ball any chance that he gets. Dude is literally about to win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved. I really don't know what else like awards he could win. Clutch Player of the Year, I have no idea. I just feel like he could win. He has the capability of winning like every award this year. Dylan Harper as a rookie is playing really well. Like the way that he scores in the paint is really good. He finds the right scoring opportunities when he can, even when there's only like a few seconds left on the clock. And the guard rotation right now looks really good with only Castle and Harper. Fox is hurt right now, so we're still recovering from his finger surgery. But I think that Castle and Harper, honestly, locking it down has just been really great so far. I'm not saying to trade De'Aaron Fox, but I really like this Castle and Harper duo. The Dallas Mavericks. What I've seen so far is that Cooper's value is his versatility on both sides of the ball. But it kind of felt like during game 1, he needed time to adjust before he even got his first NBA basket. If he got that lob in the beginning of the game, it would have, I think, kind of set his course a little different for that game. But also at the same time, it really feels like the team is having a rough start right now. I also don't want D'Lo on this team anymore. Against the Washington Wizards, he literally did not do anything. He put up a 1-2-3 stat line. Do you know how weird that is to have a 1-2-3 stat line? That means he literally scored 1 point off of a free throw, had 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. The assists are helpful, but having 1 free throw only, that hurts a lot, man. Klay has also been tough to watch. I really do hope that he's kind of having those slow starts like he did in Golden State and will kind of pick it up a little bit. If not, I don't really want to further comment about the way that I feel about Klay right now. I think throughout these 3 games as well, we really can see that Cooper Flagg is not a point guard. Yeah, maybe he ran a little point forward at Duke last year, but that doesn't mean that he can become a full-on point guard, especially in the NBA. AD looks really slow, and he looked like he was being sunned by Wemby in the first game. And it was just sad. And also, for some reason, his defense has fallen off a little. It's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, and also the defense just isn't good. But I'm really hoping that, like, AD and, like, Cooper and, like, all these guys that they have just kind of kick it into gear. The Philadelphia 76ers. VJ Edgecombe's nickname, the Generator, is definitely well-deserved. I hope he can keep up the long-range shooting. After having a 40-point performance in the first game of the season, I feel like I can look at Tyrese Maxey and be like, wow, man, you're literally about to become the next AI, or at least, like, the current AI of this team. Embiid showed flashes in game 2. He did play in game 1, but he only played about like 20 minutes, and it didn't really feel like he did much in that first game. He also won't be playing today on October 27th, the day this video is being uploaded. The Los Angeles Clippers. How the heck did they lose to the Jazz? Honest, legitimate question. But the good thing is they were able to bounce back against the Suns. Kawhi looks good, like he always usually does when he's actually playing. And the bench depth of this team on paper, it looks like it's really translating pretty well. The Utah Jazz. Walker Kessler looked amazing in his game 1, and for some reason he only took 1 shot in the last game that he played, which is game 2. I feel like because of guys like Bryce Sensabaugh, Lauri Markkanen, and Walker Kessler, this team is going to be a fun and competitive watch throughout the season. Keontae George is just shooting horribly from 3. Like, he's putting up shots, it just doesn't mean that he's making those shots. And Ace Bailey hasn't played much because of like illness, and he also has like knee tendonitis or something like that. He also did look horrible in his minutes during game 2. He missed every shot he took. The Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant looked really good in game 1. I think Cedric Howard is probably one of the steals in the draft this year. He performed great on both sides of the court. Like, he basically had a perfect game on the offensive end. No turnovers, hit every shot, plays really good defense. I don't know what more you could ask of this guy. KCP does need to stop handling the ball, and we've kind of known this. KCP has never been a really good ball handler. Bro literally cannot dribble. Every time he tried to get into the paint, he basically fumbled the ball. When Ja's off the floor, you can really see the playmaking struggle, and that's definitely going to change when Ty Jerome comes back, but for right now, it's really hard to trust anyone to handle the ball that's not named Ja Morant. There was also a stretch of time against the Heat where they literally could not buy a shot. Jaren Jackson also has to stop fouling so much, but that's been an issue throughout his entire career. And the rebounding isn't good. They don't have Zach Edey. They were running Jacques Landale at center as a starter. So that kind of speaks volumes about the way that their center depth is looking right now. The Detroit Pistons. When Kate is off the floor, no one can handle the ball. No one on this team is a shot creator like he is. Until the potential Jaden Ivey return, I really don't trust anyone with the ball in their hands. Oh, that's not Cade. Isaiah Stewart is a key pivotal defender on this team, especially coming off of the bench. And I think my biggest question for them is just, how did they beat the Houston Rockets? It felt like everyone on that team was fouling out or got ejected. And I don't know if it's just because Amen was on the opposite side of the court, but Asar looked really aggressive against the Rockets. He took a lot of shots, more than I was expecting. The Washington Wizards. Keyshawn George is the best young player on this team, hands down. He put the ball on the floor. He had a 34-point game against the Mavs, which is honestly very shocking, especially for like the casual fan. You would not see this coming. But looking at him last year, he showed a lot of potential, especially like being able to put the ball on the floor, which is what actually got him drafted out of Miami. Trey Johnson is also a bucket, and Alex Sarr did look good against the Mavs. He did struggle against the Bucks, but that was mainly because he was guarding Giannis. The Indiana Pacers. Benedict Mathurin, despite the fact that I don't feel like he kind of fits with the offensive structure of this team, was allowed to play his game in the first game of the season, which is kind of this like whole like bucket getter mentality in a way. Obi Toppin can be in the running for 6th man of the year if he stays healthy. Right now, I think he's hurt or like he has a knee issue or something like that, but hopefully he's gonna recover from that really soon, because he's always been the type of guy that's been in contention at least every year early in the season. I would just like to see him kind of be able to fulfill that. Jarace Walker settled for the 3 way too much in game 2. And I get it, you know, sometimes you need like a guy to stretch the floor, especially now that Miles Turner is not on this team. But I feel like he settled way too much for three. In game one, he looked really, really good, but game two, it kind of felt like he took a step back with the amount of threes that he was taking and missing. Andrew Nembhard's injury looks really weird. Like watching the footage back and watching the game, it didn't really look like he got hurt, but I'm not sure. I'm not a medical expert. Hopefully he comes back by this week, but I do not think there's a timetable for his return, unfortunately. Pascal can't keep carrying this team. He's been such a great underrated player, but unfortunately I don't think, while being the number one option, that he can kind of be the guy to carry the team to wins, because right now the team is literally 0-3. Also, injuries are hurting this team a lot. Like, they basically don't have a point guard to run out there right now, which is one of the biggest contributing factors to I think why they have an 0-3 start. Praying that Nembhard comes back really soon. The Charlotte Hornets. The rookies for this team look amazing. Kon Knueppel does everything right. He's kind of the definition of the guy that, like, you know, he plays the game the right way. He hits his shots. He plays defense. He's just a solid all-around player, which is really funny because I feel like that's a stereotype with a lot of white players in the league. Ryan Kalkbrenner's defense has translated really well from his time in college. I believe he was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in college, and that defense is really shown in the NBA throughout the few games that we've seen of him. Sion, I have no idea how to pronounce his first name, James, looks really solid, both figuratively and literally. Dude is built like a bodybuilder, like straight up. I definitely feel like LaMelo has had the mindset / mentality of a winner this year. Basically, at the end of one of their games, he was asked what was the best stat or the most surprising stat for him that he got, and he said it was the win. For such a long time, the Charlotte Hornets started off real good, and then all of a sudden a bunch of injuries hit them, and then they just fall off a cliff. Heck, even Brandon Miller actually got hurt, and I don't think there's a timeline for him because they're not going to evaluate the injury just yet as we be recording this video. But if this is the mindset that LaMelo comes in with, I'm perfectly happy with it. They just need to stay healthy. That's basically it. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Rob Dillingham needs to hit the floor. In the only game that he played so far, he had 4 seconds of playing time, and he left the game because of a bloody nose. He got hit in the nose, and it looked like it was really bad, and he didn't play the game after that. Rudy Gobert looks bad and bald. I think when I was talking about my top 10 centers list, Rudy Gobert was at like number 9 or number 8. I kind of feel like he can, especially if he keeps up the way that he's been looking this year, he's definitely going to fall out of the top 10 centers list. And I kind of expected this from him. Father Time is kind of catching up, and you can definitely see it. Naz Reid hasn't played well either. Game 3 looked a lot better though, but also Naz Reid had a very tragic thing happen to him in the offseason, so I'm not going to blame him if his mentality is not fully focused on basketball right now. Mike Conley is coming off of the bench, and Dante DiVincenzo is playing the point guard position. What is happening right now? Also, Bones Hyland is on this team, and Bones Hyland is getting playtime over Rob Dillingham, even though Rob got hurt basically 4 seconds into his season debut. Similar to the Rockets and the Pacers, this is a team that's in desperate need of a point guard. The Sacramento Kings. Zach LaVine is still a bucket. Nick Clifford looked really good in the one game he played before his injury. Dennis Schroeder's playmaking has really helped, especially when they got rid of De'Aaron Fox last year, and Malik Monk was the one running the show. In the 3 games that they've played, they've shown that they're not a good communicative team, especially on the defensive end. But I also kind of feel like that's because they don't have a lot of good defenders in their starting lineup or on the court a lot of the time. And speaking of defense, what is Keon Ellis's role on this team? Because I think ever since like 2 years ago when he came into the league, I thought he was a very solid defender that Sacramento should have kept in their lineup. But it feels like every year his minutes decrease, or he just doesn't get as many minutes as he should be getting. Also, can I just say that Russell Westbrook looks awkward in the number 18? I get that it's his 18th year in the NBA, and it could be potentially his last season in the NBA. But I just think the number 18 looks so weird on him. Could he not have bribed Malik Monk to give him the number 0? Or could Malik Monk have not just been like, oh, here, you've been the number 0 your whole life, basically? Or 0 has been the main number that Russ is basically kind of synonymous with. Here, take the number 0. Number 18 is just so weird. I know this is not related to actual on-court play, but like, I can't get over that. I'm sorry. The Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis is still dominant, and the lack of talent on this team is really showing. Miles Turner isn't contributing very much on the offensive side of the ball. He's protecting the rim, don't get me wrong, but we still really need that 3 ball to fall. Because if the ball isn't going to be in Giannis's hands, I expect it to be in Miles Turner's hands. Or like, I guess if the ball isn't in Giannis's hands, the person who's shooting the ball should be Miles Turner, and it should be from 3. Cole Anthony does look good off the bench. They look really solid for what they have, but they're not a contender in my eyes. Also, side note, this is not on the slide itself, but please pay AJ Green. AJ Green is the 3-point shooter that they really need, and all he does is basically shoot. which is so key in an offense run around Giannis. The Chicago Bulls. I think the team looks good. I do like Trey Jones starting right next to Josh Giddey. With the ball not always in Giddey's hands, he can kind of play a little bit off the ball, and he has been playing more aggressive, shooting a lot more threes, driving to the basket, you name it. One of the key highlights for me, I think, was when Modest Buzelis dunked over Isaiah Stewart, because Isaiah Stewart is a guy that's been kind of annoying depending on who you ask. I personally am kind of indifferent about him, but it is really nice to see a guy get dunked on once in a while, especially when they have a lot of attitude problems the way that Isaiah Stewart has kind of presented himself to have. Modest had a really good game 1, but he fouled out in game 2. Mind you, this is one of the guys that I think could win Most Improved and potentially be the best player on the Bulls, as well as win an MVP, if it's even possible for the Bulls to be decent throughout the years. Nikola Vucevic is also getting his trade value up. I think he's just playing well because of the fact that it's his last year in Chicago and he's probably going to be getting traded soon. The New Orleans Pelicans. Jeremiah Fears shows no fear. He's literally the type of guy that doesn't rely on the 3-ball and is kind of like, you know, cutting to the basket, getting to the rim, shooting the mid-range. Like, he's a very old school type of player. I feel like Jordan Poole needs to come off the bench. I feel like Jordan Poole needs to support Jeremiah Fears a little bit more in the backcourt as his running mate. Like, literally, I kind of feel like the only thing I've seen Jordan Poole when I did watch the Pelicans kind of loosely, the only thing I see him do is literally chuck the ball up, which is basically what he got paid to do. Zion got a dunk on Wemby, which is really surprising to me. He also does look very defensively locked in, which is something I did not think I was going to see, or at least not since the Duke days. Speaking of Jordan Poole from my previous point, I do think that he's a guy that should come off the bench. It's unfortunate that he's making basically starter money, but I think every time he's come off the bench, he's been way more effective than as a starter. Hopefully when DeJounte Murray comes back, that'll be fixed. Derek Queen also needs to stop fouling. Like, please, dude, stop. I'm really high on Derek Queen, but the fact that he fouls a lot is just kind of detracting from him a little bit for me. The Brooklyn Nets. Igor Demon is shooting a lot better than I expected him to. Also, Michael Porter Jr. is passing the ball a lot more. Like, he had like 3 assists. He threw a lob in like the preseason. Like, I'm just really like thrown off by the way Michael Porter Jr. has been playing. But he didn't score very much after his first few points. I kind of thought he was going to be the guy that's trying to get his own, but he didn't really like score too much. Also, same thing with Cam Thomas. I think Cam Thomas is just kind of like, you know, Cam Thomas is Cam Thomas. It's funny that he's in this photo, but this slide literally dictates nothing about him. That's my bad completely. But yeah, I just don't really think there's very much to talk about with the Brooklyn Nets. They should just aim for the lottery. That's what I'm saying. AJ DeBoncia and Cam Boozer are waiting for you guys. The Portland Trailblazers. Because of all of the legal issues that have been happening off the court, Thiago Splitter has replaced Chauncey Billups as the head coach. Chauncey's still technically on the team, but the coaching duties have been handed over to Thiago Splitter. They're staying competitive, which I really like. Jeremy Grant off the bench has increased his trade value a lot. He's basically scoring like 23 points a game right now through 3 games. And what I love about this team and what I really liked about this team last year is that they have defenders everywhere you look. Drew Holiday, Toumani Camara, Donovan Clingan. They've just got really solid defenders kind of at every point on the court. Shaedon Sharpe's offense isn't looking good, which I was expecting him to be the guy that was going to take a very big offensive jump this year. But on the defensive end, he's been really solid. The Boston Celtics. I think this is a team that just needs time to adjust. Derek White is playing a lot bigger of a role that I don't think he's really used to. Jaylen Brown had a 41-point game, but they still lost. The team doesn't rebound well. They give up a lot of offensive rebounds, and that really showed against the 76ers when Joel Embiid wasn't playing. And you just really see the loss of Tatum, Drew, Porzingis, Al Horford, heck, even Luke Cornett being gone. You really see the difference in the offense and the defense this year. While I am a lifetime Lakers fan and a lifetime Celtics hater, it does kind of hurt to see that this team is struggling, because I would love for them to be competitive, because that's what they do. But right now, it's kind of feeling like a gap year for them. I don't think Tatum should come back like he's wanted to, but if he does, I don't think they're going to be anywhere in the standings to be able to compete for a play-in spot at this rate. The Toronto Raptors. Brandon Ingram looks really good on this team. I'm impressed with the way that he's settled in. I also can't tell if they played well because they're playing a weaker team, or if this is the way that this team really looks. The bench also looks really good. And last but not least, I have the Phoenix Suns. Dillon Brooks looks like an all-star, which is very, very shocking to me throughout the first 2-3 games of the season. And this is definitely a team that looks like it's going to have really good nights and really bad ones. Devin Booker is really confusing me right now, because I really need him to look like the way that he did in game 1 and game 3. In game 2, it kind of felt like he was the starting point guard of the team, which I think he kind of is running the point guard role because Jalen Green's not there. He basically didn't score the ball at all in game 2. And hopefully when Jalen Green comes back, things will balance out a little bit more. But as of right now, I kind of feel like I'm in a very weird place with the Suns. And yeah, that's basically it for this week's recap. I will see you guys for another recap on Thursday. Okay, yeah, bye.